Hey everybody, welcome to the Legion Astartes part of Legions Imperialis, the rulebook review. So this is the segment where I'm going to go through the army list for the Legions Astartes, the various different Legion rules for the Legions in the Horus Heresy, and get some overview thoughts on the army in general. Now, if you want to check out the core rules review, you can go up in the cards and check that video out as well. Or if you want to check out the Solar Auxilia or the support assets review, you can check those out too. They're going to be basically 3 different parts of videos so that we can go through how to play this game and talk about the various armies. Now, one of the things that is a key feature, which I think people need to kind of probably manage their expectations about, there's only 2 armies so far. There's the Solar Auxilia and there's the Legions Astartes army list. Now, there's probably going to be more armies. There's probably going to be armies like the Custodes, at least as like a support detachment, or there's going to be things like Sisters of Silence. You can take various add-ons to the various armies, like and maybe full armies like the Mechanicum or the Dark Mechanicum as like a twin side of that sword. So at the very least, I think we might see a couple more Imperial-themed armies in this setting. What I don't think we're going to see in this setting is Orcs and Eldar and Tyranids, and eventually this becomes a full game. They would do a whole other game if they were going to have that stuff arrive. So if you're looking at Legions Imperialis and going, oh, I'm going to wait until they release the Orcs, you're probably not going to get it. So if you want to try out the game, you want to try it in the scale, you're going to have to pick one of these 2 armies. So what do we have here? Well, the Legions Astartes army list, of course, is the Space Marine Legions themselves. Now, historically speaking, these guys have always been the underdogs in Epic. Marines have a hard time. Anything with like average saves and low model count tended to struggle a bit in a game at this scale, and they really do need to lean into the heroics of their vehicles and their bigger units in order to get the job done. Now, what do we got in the core of this? We have their special rules. We have the different company formations that you can take, so like the Garrison Force, the Demi Company, the Armored Company, and the Area Assault. There might be more of these in the future, but there's 4 so far based on different unit types. Let's talk about the special rules in general. So you have to pick a legion. When a player musters an army using a Legions Astartes army list as the primary army list, that player must select a legion for each Legions Astartes formation within it, and that formation is referred to as legion name formation. And all models within it are referred to as their detachments, and they gain that legion special rule. So, for instance, you could have like a Sons of Horus Demi Company backed up by an Iron Warriors Armor Company if you want, and both of those separate formations would have their own legion rules attached to it. If a Legions Astartes formation includes a non-Legions Astartes army choice, 3 allied contingents, then they too must choose a legion and gain the special rule associated with it. All Legions Astartes allied contingents within an army must be drawn from the same legion. So if I was playing Solar Auxilia and I'm using a Legions Astartes formation as allies, so as part of the 30% of the points that can be that part of the army, then they also have to pick a legion to come from. So nobody not playing as a legion, basically. You don't have a choice. You gotta be from somewhere. Everybody's coming from somewhere. And then certain formations presented in future supplements may be exclusively available to certain legions, and thus can only be included, blah, blah. So like if there's like a Justerian formation or a Heads of the Hydra Alpha Legion formation or a Sanguinary Guard formation for the Blood Angels, obviously only those legions can use that formation. And that's it. Now there are, of course, the full set of those formations. I'm going to quickly go through them because that will kind of predicate everything. You don't get, so one of the things that's probably different between Legions Imperialis and other sort of like 40k style games that you probably wouldn't, I'm going to keep looking at the camera to make sure I'm in the frame, that's different from other game systems. There's not a huge advantage for playing a certain legion. So for instance, if you're playing the Dark Angels, you get the formations of the Hexagrammaton. At the start of the battle, before any detachments deployed, determine which Dark Angels formation contains a total of 3 or more different detachment types. Dedicated transports are ignored. If all the detachments are infantry, you gain Phosphex and Implacable. If all of them are cavalry, you gain Outflank. If all of them are vehicles, you gain Nimble. So basically it's, are you Iron Wing, Raven Wing, or maybe not Deathwing necessarily, but like, are you infantry? Are you all on bikes because you're Outriders, or are you all on tanks? If a formation has dedicated transport, the model gains the type of relevant special rule, but the transport does not. So if you're all infantry, but you have transports, then you still get the Phosphex and the Implacable special rule. And that's it. Like, you get some background for the Legion, but that's the core rule, is the Hexagrammaton stuff. Emperor's Children, they get Exemplars of War. Once per battle, an army that includes at least 1 formation consisting entirely of Emperor's Children models can choose to just win the initiative. Just whatever the initiative roll for the turn is, you just win it. If both players have this rule, the player that didn't have it last round chooses if they are first. If an army includes at least one allied detachment comprised entirely of Emperor's children, then one's probably going to re-roll instead of choosing to go first. Iron Warriors get the bitter end. When determining which player controls a neutral objective marker, Iron Warriors, infantry, and walkers count their tactical strength as one higher than normal. In addition, when determining who controls an objective marker in a deployment zone, Iron Warriors infantry count as 2 higher, and walkers count as 2 higher. Of all of them, this one seems like maybe the most powerful. The White Scars one, get born in the skedaddle. All White Scars models with the Jink X special rule improve their Jink save by 1 to a maximum of 3+. So like a 6 would become a 5, a 5 would become a 4. The Space Wolves get preternatural senses. Each enemy detachment within the Infiltrate special rule cannot be deployed within 16 of Space Wolves models. In addition, an enemy model with the outflank cannot be placed in the battlefield within 8 of any Space Wolves models. They can smell you if you have those rules. Again, like situationally useful compared to always count as 1 higher for holding objectives. That's what I'm saying. They kind of go back and forth. Some of these are a little more cosmetic, I think, than useful. Imperial Fists get Disciplined Fire. If an Imperial Fist infantry detachment is issued with First Fire, any weapons that have the following description gain accurate. So Legion Bolters, Combi Bolters, Bolt Pistols, Missile Launchers, Plasma Cannons, Las Cannons, Autocannons. Accurate means you reroll all your misses. Again, if you have the slightly more valuable than Infiltrators can't come within 16 of me. Night Lords, you get Seeds of Dissent. If a Night Lord's model destroys an enemy model with the Commander or Solar Auxilia HQX special rule, each enemy detachment within 4 of the destroyed model suffers a number of hits equal to 3 times the starting wound characteristic of the destroyed model. You make an example out of that guy. When making save rolls against these hits, models make their save against their morale instead of their armor save, which is very funny. Things like invulnerable saves, cover saves, etc. can't be used. And you can't be hit by voice shields. Models that are part of a detachment that's broken, subtract 2 from the results of these save rolls. Very funny. But Knights, Titans, models with a characteristic of dash are unaffected by this rule. They don't care how many commanders you cut the skin off of and make an angel out of. The Blood Angel is going to get Encarmine Fury. All models within a Blood Angels army detachment and within win a combat may move to 3 inches after all withdrawal moves have not been completed, as long as they are not engaged. Models can move into base contact with more enemy models. They cannot embark or garrison a structure as part of this move. Although you can take structures if you're fighting against one. If a detachment engages an enemy detachment in this way in the fight phase, and they have not yet fought, the Blood Angel detachment can fight again this round. So basically you can double tap into units, which is very powerful for some combats. Your Dreadnoughts would be massively powerful doing that. The Iron Hands get Inviolate Armor. Iron Hand models with the Feel No Pain special rule benefit from the effects when they suffer a wound from a weapon with a light or light AT trait instead of just the light trait. In addition, any hits scored against an Iron Hands vehicle or super heavy vehicle issued with the First Fire or worsen, they worsen AP by 1 to a minimum of 0. So basically, vehicles and super heavy vehicles that get a First Fire order, their AP goes down. So go from -2 to -1. It means you dug in, I guess is what it would be exactly. Because in First Fire orders you can't move, so this means you can sit still and like hits against you get worse because you're just like that well defended. The First Fire order must still be in effect. It cannot be used Overwatch or whatever. And this doesn't affect any hit and void shields. World Leaders just get Incarnate Violence. Whenever they make a fight roll, all World Leaders infantry, cavalry, walkers can roll a single d6 when making fight rolls. That's huge because you're on a bell curve there, so you can roll 2d6, keep the high die, and reroll the low die. Ultramarines, Interlocking Tactics. An Ultramarine model may reroll hit rolls of 1 when firing upon enemy detachments that have already had 1 or more hits scored against them by an Ultramarine model from the same formation as the firing model. So you can fire all of your bolters first as long as you get a single hit, then all your heavy weapons can like reroll hit rolls of 1. And then Death Guard, Sons of Horus. In addition to start of the battle, Death Guard detachments do not suffer hits from moving through dangerous terrain because you're siege fighters. In addition, at the start of the battle, before any detachments are deployed, a player can pick up 2 area pieces of area terrain if their army formation contains at least 1 Death Guard formation, and they become dangerous because you booby trap them. 2 structures can also be selected in place of a single area piece of terrain. Each time a model garrisons or leaves it, it counts as having moved an inch through dangerous terrain, which is very funny. And then Thousand Sons get Kind Shields. The Thousand Sons models with the Commander special rule get the Shield Generator 6+ special rule. So basically your commander's going to attach to a formation and going to give them the Shield Generator 6+ roll. It's like kind of an invulnerable save. And the Sons of Horus are death dealers. If they have an advance order and they're within 6 of the enemy, they can reroll hit rolls of 1 when firing weapons with light or light anti-tank traits while that order affects it. So you're up close brawlers. Again, think about that compared to that Space Wolves rule. Like I said, they go up and down. Word bearers have the True Believers special rule. Detachments within a word bearer's formation never count as broken for the purpose of being issued an order. So they can always get all the orders as opposed to just being restricted to charge and advance when they're down to half their models left. In addition, they ignore the effects of the Dread Aura special rule. So anything with Dread Aura, which I assume is going to be demons affecting friend or foe, word bearers don't care. They love the demons. So again, like just straight up good. Just ignore being broken. The Space Wolves really get a short end of the stick in this one. I don't know why I'm stuck on that. Then Salamanders, when making a morale check, they have Strength of Will. A detachment that contains only Salamanders models roll 2d6 and choose the result they prefer. In addition, everybody gets Implacable. All Salamander detachments, period. All your vehicles, everything gets Implacable. Raven Guard get by Wing and Talon. All detachments that are only infantry gain Infiltrate. If the formation has dedicated transports, they don't get it. All detachments that contain cavalry or walkers or Raven Guards with transport get forward deployment instead, which means they get to make a move before the game starts. And then your Alpha Legion, they get Mutable Tactics for each formation in an army made up entirely of Alpha Legion detachments, ignoring allied detachments. The controlling player can select up to 3 Alpha Legion detachments in the army to be affected by Mutable Tactics. For each allied contingent in the army made up entirely of Alpha Legions, you can choose 1. So basically, if your allies are Alpha Legion, you get 1. If you're all Alpha Legions up to 3 can get it. But no flyers. A detachment chosen to be affected by Mutable Tactics gains the special rule dependent on the detachment type. If it is infantry, cavalry, walker, or vehicle, they gain infiltrate, outflank, or forward deployment. This is chosen by the controlling player. If it's another type, they gain forward deployment automatically. So like a free move or deploy anywhere in your half or outflank would just show up on the sides. So very cool. Those are the 18 special rules that you could be able to pick from. And like I said, they kind of vary in quality from never count as broken. So you can always have all the orders and reroll within 6 inches when you have light and AT weapons to you can't infiltrate near me. They're kind of all over the place. All right, let's talk about formations. Now, this is the core of the army. Remember, 70% of your points have to be spent on these formations, and that's a big deal. It's actually quite difficult to get over 1,000 points without having more than one formation in your army. So it's worth maybe not filling out all the optional detachments in a formation in order to just take a second one and unlock more slots. So for instance, in my 1,000 points of Sons of Horus that I built in this formation, I have a Legion Dummy Company. So I've got an HQ choice, which is going to be a commander, a support choice, which is going to be dreadnoughts, and 2 core choices that are tactical companies. Then I've got air support, which is some Storm Eagle gunships. Carry my guys around. I got more support choices in the form of Terminators, and I've got transports, although they're actually dedicated transports, which are rhinos attached to them. Then instead of taking a garrison force or an aerial assault, which again I could actually have made that almost an aerial assault, but I can't quite fit all the models because they all have to have dedicated transports. I took an armored company. So I took my Predators, my Sycarans, and some Kratoses that I'm painting up as a second formation. That'll take me to 990 points. Got some air support unlocked again by that one because I got 1 air support choice in each of these. So the Storm Eagles are joined by some Xiphons that are giving covering fire to all the tanks. That's 1,000 points. So which of these you base your army on, all you got to do is get the compulsory detachments down, and then you can start unlocking more detachments. And very often it's more useful to take a second detachment than it is to try and cram all the units that you could fit inside of the Demi Company. So the Demi Company, like I said, it's an HQ, 1 support, and 2 core mandatory, and then you can have another core, 2 more supports, transports that are unattached to somebody, bastions, which means things like tarantulas or like Dorado dreadnoughts, things that are supposed to give covering fire. And a single Vanguard, although to my knowledge, there are no Vanguard units in the Space Marine Army list, which is very weird. I'm not sure why it's structured this way, but the Dreadnoughts aren't Vanguard, where you feel like they would be, and neither are the Terminators. Or the Assault Marines. It kind of feels like they should all be Vanguard, not support. The support area is very full in this army list. Then you can take up to 1 light armor or air support. It's or, not and 1 artillery, battle tank, or heavy armor, and it's an or, not and. So you get 1 of those things. Their special rule is Heart of the Legion. Compulsory core detachments in this formation must be filled with Legion tactical detachments. Not that we have any other options right now. All other non-infantry models within this formation increase their tactical strength by 1 when contesting objectives. So all your rhinos and stuff become strength +1, as long as there's an infantry model within this formation also contesting it. And then we get our garrison force. No special rules for that, but it means you can take a bastion in preference to one of these core choices. So you can take like the tarantulas and rapiers and stuff like that, or Drados eventually when they come out. And then the optionals are identical to the demi company, except you get an artillery choice instead of a vanguard choice. And then you can have one of the following: a heavy armor or an artillery. So it's a ground and pound army. Armored company is 2 battle tank detachments and a heavy armor detachment, so like Kratos', Sycarans, and Predators. And then the optional detachments are light armors, heavy armies, battle tanks, and then air support and heavy armor. No special rules for that either. The aerial assault, it's almost identical to the demi company, except your optional support stuff has 2 air supports, a core, a vanguard, and 2 support options. Any Legions Astartes detachment with an aerial assault formation can be upgraded with Storm Eagles or Thunderhawks as dedicated transport, so they don't eat up these air support slots. They become part of the core choice. At 100 points per Storm Eagle or 150 points per Legion Thunderhawk. And then aerial assault, all detachments with the formation that do not have the fire special rule must begin embarked in a flyer. So you have to come in a flyer, basically. All right, let's talk about the units. The HQ detachment, now one of the things you're going to notice is Marine units don't have the saves you might think they would have. They have 5+ saves, which is significantly better than the Auxilia, but they're not super tough. Like they're just infantry in a game of giant war machines. So your command squad's got like a 5-inch move, 4+ save, +4 to their close assault factor, so that means +4 to that 2d6 roll, 2+ morale, and a single wound. They do have the commander rule though, which means they attach to their eligible formation of the same type. So any infantry detachment you have inside the formation can have them like stuck to it. They have a 6+ invulnerable, so they always get a 6+ save. They're master tacticians, and Medicae, which means they give a feel no pain roll of 5+ to the units that they're part of the same formation as them, as long as it's light and AT damage. And then your dedicated transports are rhinos for 10 points each. You can transport up to 2 models in them, 2 stands of infantry. And you can give them multi-meltas and havoc launch, which is cool for some anti-tank or anti-infantry like damage. You could even take a detachment of them if you wanted to. You'll see they're significantly tougher. They have 1 wound each, but they have a 3+ save, or sorry, a 4+ save, and the same morale as everybody else. Then you got your Legion Tactical Detachment, 35 points for 4 stands of just Tactical Marines, 5-inch move, 5+ save, +2 close assault factor, 3+ morale, and a single wound. Everything's relatively short range in this game, 8 to 10-inch range, which means for my Sons of Horus, getting within 6 inches, well, they kind of have to get there to shoot no matter what, unless I've upgraded them to have missile launchers and have a 20-inch range. I probably will still give them missile launchers because it means I get 2 extra dice when I'm shooting with them. So if I come into that fight, I've got a lot of stuff to re-roll. You can add more tacticals. You can add the support guys with plasma. You can add missile launchers, Legion Terminators, or Assault Marines. And the Assault Marines have an interesting upgrade where they have independent. They basically form their own attachment that has to stay within 6 of this attachment and can have a different order, which is kind of cool. So you could have a whole bunch of those guys added to them, and you can have up to 4 different add-ons. So that same core detachment could have 4 stands of Assault Marines like roaming around within 6 of it and like charging stuff while they walk around supporting with guns. They're a neat detachment because they operate in little like satellites if they want to. Then your support detachments, of which there are many. You're gonna look and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. You can have plasma guns, the same guys that are basically attached to your squad. Now the one problem with the actual box and sprues of these guys, you don't get enough models to make these separate units. So you can't make a plasma gun support, missile launcher support, or Terminator support separately, or an assault support. These 4 basically, you'll need to buy a second box of the Marine frame just to have enough of those models to make these stands, which is kind of unfortunate. You do get enough to make a Dreadnought stand though by itself of 4 models, and they can be upgraded with more of the same Dreads or a Leviathan when that model comes out. And the Leviathan's a bigger, tougher, Dread that hangs out with them. They are super dangerous, +5 close assault. The Leviathans can be taken by themselves as well if you want to. Then your support weapons, like your Legion Rapier Battery, is actually just like a support choice with quad launchers or laser destroyers. And then Tarantulas are bastion detachments. So you can see here they've got 2 bastions, which is the Dorados and the Tarantulas they can take as well. Then the battle tanks, the Predators, again, your tanks aren't great, just 3+ armor saves. they have not the best like fighting abilities. But you can take them up to units of 9. They're relatively cheap. Just don't expect them to go head-to-head with Leman Russes. Then your Psycherans are in groups at 2. They're about as tough as the Predators are, but significantly more expensive because they are slightly upgunned. Really good at shooting planes with their twin-linked accelerator autocannons. But the Omega Plasma Ray is probably what you want. Short-ranged, very accurate, so rerolls misses with a 4+ and a -2 AP. And then finally, your heavy tanks, which is the Kratos. 2 of them are 150 points. And these are your big guns, the Kratos battle tank. You're going to be able to actually engage armor at range with these guys, shooting up to 20 inches. And then air support, basically everything that was available from Aeronautica Imperialis is available currently in this rulebook. So you get your Xiphons and Storm Eagles, Fire Raptors and Thunderhawks. You'll probably have to wait to see them re-released though into the new Horus Heresy packaging, because boy howdy, that stuff is gone. I was lucky I had a box of Xiphons and Storm Eagles I'm painting up right now. But if you've already got stuff painted for Legions Imperialis in the appropriate Legion colors, just rebase them. You can stick them on 40mm bases and you're ready to play. And that's it. Those are your options. So what are we noticing here? Well, the stuff from the core box is in here, and there is a Tarantula and Rapier battery. I'm imagining this is the same box for both armies. It's like a support weapon box, and the little infantry guys that stand next to them are going to be different. So another box to come out, it's going to be that stuff. And then we've got the Leviathans as a thing that we haven't seen released yet. And we have, I think that's it. We've seen the Kratos. We've got the Predators in the core box. We own the Geradios, yeah. So the Deredeo and the Leviathan Dreads, which may be like a single box of like those two things, and the Tarantula and Rapier batteries, and then that's really it that we haven't already seen or had available. So the stuff in the core box is kind of it for now. And that's fine. They're letting us play with the toys we already have, which is stuff from Aeronautica and stuff from Titanicus. And there's a few things, I guess, in like the second wave to come out. But for the most part, you got access to everything that's in the game so far. And we'll probably see separate supplements when new things come out. Because the one thing we know about Horus Heresy, there's a million things that aren't here. Stormblades, like a billion different like jet bike types and outriders and drop pods. They're giving us the basics in this rulebook, which I think is fine. And we've seen all the models that are available. And they're probably available mostly at launch. To cover the army list. So what do I think about the core army list for the Space Marines? I think it's fine. I do think that you're going to find an uphill battle in the beginning against the Solar Auxilia, just because of the number of options these guys have, and just because the armor options for the Marines don't do great against the armor options from the Auxilia. The Auxilia are going to own the ground, I think, initially in this game, whereas the Marines, they're going to own the sky. If you want to take something that's really dominant, don't go for the tanks, I think, in the Marine Army. Go for the space trucks. The Xiphon is a killing machine when it comes to its rotary muscle launcher and its last cannon array. And the Storm Eagles and Fire Raptors and Thunderhawks will basically just fly through other planes with 3+ saves and 2+ saves. And they will get your Marines where they need to go a lot safer than the Rhinos will, which are your only other transport option right now. Conspicuously missing are things like Land Raiders, the more heavy like transport stuffs. And of course, the thing I'm really excited to see, I want a plastic epic scale Mastodon. Oh boy, howdy do I want a Mastodon. I want a Mastodon so bad I can taste it. I want all of my guys to get into Mastodons because I love that tank. It is so freaking cool. So if you're a bit disappointed by the lack of options so far, I think it's fine because honestly, I think that this lets us get the stuff that's initially available done. It means we can try out the game, I think, with a more, I guess, like flat playing field between the two armies that are initially offered. And you're going to have the options to have what looks, I think, very thematic from the point of view of Horus Heresy already on the table by the time the cool new stuff comes out. So there it is. Hopefully you got some ideas on how to build and paint your Horus Heresy army if you're getting into this for the first time. And if I was to make a recommendation for the things to get initially, the Kratos box and the Rhino box, I think, best complement the starter set for giving you some movement options and some heavy support so you can take a second formation. Because you really want to be able to make those tanks that come in the starter set a separate formation so you can field them without crowding the demi company. And then if you have access to it, the Storm Eagles, because they are a fantastic transport option for the infantry stuff. And they mean that you can get around the table a little bit better and just dominate the skies and not be so worried about the tanks on the Solar Auxilia side, which are pretty horrifying. So support option wise, honestly, I think the Knights probably complement the Marines the best. The Titans and stuff, I don't see us using the big Titans like anytime soon. To take one of the bigger Titans, like a single Knight is 180 points. That's more than any other single unit in your Space Marine army. Like one Knight walking around is a horrifying fighting machine. And the bigger Knights are even worse. Like the bigger Knights are even tougher and they can be taken as upgrades. Whereas the Cerastus Knights, a single one is 215 points. And then the Acastus Knights are 250 points individually. So if you already have some of that stuff painted, they're a good instant option. The Warhounds that come in the starter set, you can't actually really field them legally until you're at 1,170 points of Marine stuff painted. Because, well, it's less than that, but like they're 330 points. They're very awkwardly placed point-wise. You can't really use them in a 1,000-point game because only 30% of your points can get used on allied stuff. And they always count as allies because they're always a support choice. So while they are fun, you're going to need to add some stuff to your Marine army to get started, the Astartes stuff to get started in order to be able to legally use them. So if you've got access to Knights, they're probably a little more flexible in that at 1,500 points of game size, which is probably like the smallest you probably want to be playing initially, you're going to need to have you need 1,150 points of Marine stuff to go with 1,050 points of Marine stuff painted to go with a 450 point ally allowance. And at 450 points, you can take a single Warhound because there's nothing else that's small enough to add into there. And maybe some Solar Auxilia to hang out with. You can use them as tech guard or something like that. So that's it. We are done looking at the Legions Astartes part of this rulebook. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm super excited to finish painting my Sons of Horus and then get back to working on the Auxilia. So I have 2 armies painted for this, so I can go back and forth no matter what anybody brings in. I went with the Sons of Horus because, like, I mean, they're in the whole war. For all of my games will make sense if I'm playing them, I guess, is really why I chose them. And they're kind of iconic too. And so we'll get more of that stuff painted. You'll see that on the paint table this week and next week and all through the week as I get this stuff done so I can start throwing down some full-size games. Big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews. Till then, I'm Ash. Happy gaming.
Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed that video, and thank you for watching. If you want to find out more about me and see what I'm up to, you can check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/outofthebasement-into-the-streets or Instagram at Guerrilla Miniature Games. You can also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Guerrilla Miniature Games, and of course, you can now follow on Patreon if you don't want to back and see what's new. Thanks for watching.